I overheard my husband and Mill planning to give one of our twins to my infertile sister as a birthday gift. This prompted me to terminate the relationship, file for divorce, and relocate to a different city to protect my children. I am 28 years old and my husband, Mike, is 30. We have been in a committed relationship for almost 6 years. We met when I had recently started my job, and because he was more experienced than me, he provided invaluable assistance from the outset. Mike was aware that I did not come from a privileged background. I had to advocate for myself and undertake various tasks to save money. My parents were both substance abusers who provided minimal support for me. Consequently, upon entering college, I relocated and terminated all contact with them. They occasionally attempted to communicate with me in order to request financial assistance, prompting me to change my telephone number and address on multiple occasions. When I commenced employment with Mike, he exhibited remarkable kindness and amiability. I recall an instance when I wore a shirt to the office that had 2 minor holes I had not noticed. Mike promptly purchased a new shirt for me to change into, demonstrating his consideration for my professional appearance. He was discreet and would not be discovered by the workers when it rained or snowed. He would pick me up from my residence, which was more than an hour away from his, because he was aware that I had to walk a considerable distance to catch the bus. On occasion, I would forego lunch not only to save money but also because, during my formative years, I rarely had the opportunity to eat a proper meal. I was able to consume 3 proper meals a day, which became a habit as an adult. However, Mark would consistently bring me lunch and insist on eating with me to ensure that I was adequately nourished. As previously stated, my husband was kind to me, and it did not take long for me to fall in love with him. The only obstacle to our relationship was his family. For context, Mike comes from an exceptionally wealthy family. They are the sort of family where one has multiple cars, a vacation home, and goes on a cruise vacation during the summer. He and his sister went to private school and never had to worry about paying anything themselves. Indeed, his father has told him several times why he was even doing a job. The kind of money they have can set him up for life. However, Mike insists that he likes his job and wants to live life with a purpose anyway. When Mike introduced me to his family, he had told me that they can be cold and unwelcoming. Despite initial reservations, I was eventually able to gain their acceptance. I made my initial visit with the intention of presenting myself in a manner that would be both polite and respectful. His father greeted me cordially, while his mother did not even acknowledge my presence with a handshake. His sister, Kayla, regarded me with disdain, her gaze assessing my appearance. I felt deeply humiliated, yet I recalled Mike's advice and chose to overlook the incident. Throughout the evening, I attempted to engage in conversation and demonstrate genuine interest in their lives and interests. I offered praise where it was due. I complimented the culinary skills of his mother and commended his father's taste in interior design and art collection. However, upon each such commendation, his mother would derisively retort that only someone with no knowledge of art would make such a remark. Despite my humble upbringing, I had developed an appreciation for art. Her remark indicated a lack of interest in my artistic pursuits, which caused me considerable distress. Mike would intermittently grasp my hand, imploring me to maintain my composure as the dinner hour approached. His mother asserted that I should be seated at a distance from Mike, as she and Kayla desired to remain in his vicinity. I was situated adjacent to Phil, who exhibited a notable degree of openness and amiability. He was courteous and respectful, and we engaged in a productive discussion throughout the evening. Kayla and Mill were lavishing attention on Mike, while I was largely ignored. At one point, Kayla initiated a conversation about one of Mike's former romantic partners, whom she still maintains a close relationship with. She stated that the former romantic partner was looking the best she had ever seen him and proceeded to show Mike photographs of the woman in swimwear from their recent excursion. Mike requested that she cease, but Kayla laughed at his discomfort and informed him that he could always engage in sexual intercourse with the former romantic partner if he desired to do so. She still holds a certain affection for him. I was becoming increasingly uneasy, and it seemed that Phil was also aware of this, as he requested that Cabe cease speaking. However, his actions were met with resistance from Mike's mother, who appeared to take umbrage at his intervention. I was deeply discomforted by the dynamics of the entire family, and when Mike excused himself from the table and asked me to accompany him so that he could show me his childhood room, I was grateful for the opportunity to escape the awkward situation. I followed Mike out of the dining room and up the stairs to his childhood room, which he referred to as his sanctuary. Later in the room, Mike apologized to me for his sister, he informed me, had always exhibited these characteristics, even during their formative years. She had consistently encouraged him to date one of her friends, emphasizing her preference for a specific individual as a potential spouse. I discerned that he was genuinely remorseful, so I chose to overlook the incident and informed him that it would be preferable for us to. He concurred, stating that he had not realized this until later, as we were saying our goodbyes. Mike's father then pulled me aside. His demeanor became noticeably more genial, and he stated that he had initially been somewhat skeptical of me, but that my sincerity in efforts to connect had ultimately won him over. He expressed regret for his initial coldness and assured me that I was welcome. In their home, he informed me that I should not take Mills and Kayla's words to heart and that he was pleased that Mike had found someone like me. I felt reassured after hearing those words. From that point onward, I was aware that it would require significant effort for me to make a positive impression on Mill and S if I ever wanted to be accepted by them. However, the situation remained unaltered as Mike's and my relationship developed. His mother and sister consistently discouraged him from pursuing a relationship with me. I recall one occasion when, for my birthday, Mike and I were scheduled to embark on a lengthy drive to the beach, where we planned to have a romantic picnic. I was particularly enthusiastic about the prospect of spending the day with him. The day with him, however, in the morning his sister called him, informing him that she needed to see him urgently since something had occurred. He informed me, and I immediately requested that he visit her because we believed her account. It subsequently became evident that she had merely called him a prank, and there was no urgency to the situation. She insisted on his presence for the entire day. When he refused, citing that it was my birthday and that he wished to spend the day with me, she departed, stating that it was precisely the reason she had called him. This gave him an excuse to avoid spending the day with me. Mike was enraged at her actions and after this, he ceased communication with her for several months. Subsequently, his sister would send me messages containing profanities and threats, stating that I was preventing her from communicating with her brother. I would, of course, show these messages to Mike, which would further exacerbate his anger. It was only after this incident that year, following intervention from Mill, that Mike agreed to forgive Kayla. However, she never offered an apology for the harassment she had inflicted upon me. When Kayla married her then-boyfriend, Joe, she refused to invite me to the wedding, informing Mike that he could instead attend the event as a single man and meet some of her friends. Mike was unwilling to attend the wedding without me, and so Kayla was forced to include me on the guest list. I wore a long pink floor-length dress that Mike and I had selected for me, as the event was of a grand nature and guests were expected to dress accordingly. He did, however, inform me that I looked incredibly beautiful. I was gratified to receive compliments from numerous other guests, including Phil, during the event. However, Kayla subsequently expressed her displeasure, claiming that I had ruined her wedding by upstaging her. Despite the fact that other guests had also worn floor-length dresses, she accused me and Mike of intentionally dressing that way to garner attention. The male attention Mike attempted to pacify her, informing her that this was not their intention. However, Kayla refused to listen and became even more hostile. Over the years, Mill and SIL have insulted my appearance, calling me ugly and fat. They have also made fun of me and my family background in front of their family and friends. Despite my attempts to remain polite, they have never changed their negative opinion of me. Consequently, during the 4th year of my relationship with Mike, I ceased trying to maintain a cordial relationship with them, as their behavior was negatively affecting my self-esteem. I had reached a point of emotional exhaustion due to the relentless nature of their comments regarding my appearance. I engaged in a lengthy discussion with Mike, during which I asserted my boundaries. I ceased attending his family gatherings and events, and I ceased responding to their messages. I adopted a similar approach to how they had treated me over the years, and I experienced a notable improvement in my mental health. Mike demonstrated understanding and support. My decision, despite Mill's assertion that I was being disrespectful for not visiting them anymore and that I was not well enough to get married too. However, despite what his family thought last year, Mike proposed to me. The proposal was a moment of pure joy and love. He had prepared everything for the day and was visibly nervous when he popped the question. I had no doubt in my mind when I told him. Subsequently, when he informed his family of the engagement, his father offered his congratulations, whereas his mother merely stated that she hoped he had given the matter considerable thought, as otherwise he might regret it. Mike requested that she refrain from being discourteous, given that she was on speaker, and she eventually bestowed her congratulations upon me as well. It may be surmised that she had finally come to accept the inevitable and that I would become a part of her son's life. In the future, when Kayla discovered that her response was considerably more intense, she reportedly informed Mike that he needed to prepare a speech in which he would explain how individuals from impoverished backgrounds can exploit those who are financially secure. This suggestion was not only discourteous but also startling to Mike. He firmly informed his sister that if she was not comfortable with his decision to marry me, she was welcome to refrain from attending the ceremony. Kayla and he engaged in a brief but intense exchange of views. Despite her initial animosity, 2 days later she sent me a text message apologizing for her previous behavior. I surmised that she and Mill had discussed the situation and realized that there was nothing she could say or do to prevent her brother from marrying me. I informed Mike that I would be amenable to signing a prenuptial agreement before our marriage, as I was not marrying him for his wealth but for his kindness and support. I had long desired a fulfilling career and a sense of contentment in my personal life. I was therefore not inclined to pursue a financially advantageous marriage. Mike reassured me that he was aware of my aspirations and that he would not request a prenuptial agreement as the wedding drew near. I was keen to present myself in the best possible light, and so I began a rigorous exercise regime. I occasionally shared images of myself with Jim on social media, which were tastefully presented. However, one weekend, Mike returned home. Following his family dinner, he informed me that Kayla and his mother had suggested that I was cheating on him. This was based on the fact that I had been posting images online with the intention of attracting the attention of other men. He then proceeded to explain how he had defended me, stating that he was not bothered by the images. However, Kayla had informed him that this was a typical way for women to begin cheating on their parents. This prompted him to ask me directly if I was cheating on him. I was taken aback by the question and firmly stated that I was not. I was offended that he would ask me such a question. He began to apologize and explained that his sister and mother had influenced him and that he would not have questioned me otherwise. It should be noted that my account is private, and I have more female followers than male. Consequently, I am unsure why Mill and Kayla would say something like that to Mike during the wedding. They appeared to be attempting to cause further issues arose when Kayla repeatedly expressed her desire to be a bridesmaid, which I firmly rejected. Mill then contacted me, strongly criticizing my decision and emphasizing the potential negative impact on the family. I informed her that Kayla had similarly excluded me from her wedding party, but Mill maintained that Kayla would be my sister-in-law and therefore my responsibility. This led to a significant disagreement when I informed Mike of the conversation, who then spoke with Phil. He reassured us that it was his money and that Mill had no authority over our wedding plans. I can only imagine Mill's reaction and how she must have felt when she learned that her attempts to influence our wedding had failed. Our wedding proceeded without further incidents or interference from Sand. Mike and I remain on good terms, and I had assumed that everything was well between us. However, something has recently occurred that has prompted me to question everything. I had not anticipated that I would find myself in this situation. It began 3 months ago when I discovered that I was pregnant with twins. Mike was as pleased as I was. We were both elated and happy. We had been trying to conceive a child since we got married, and the news that we were expecting not just 1 but 2 babies felt like a dream come true. Mike insisted on having a family gathering where he would announce my pregnancy, even though I had wanted something more intimate. I was aware of Mike's excitement at becoming a father, and therefore agreed when he and I announced my pregnancy at the party. We were immediately approached by numerous individuals who congratulated us. However, S and Mill appeared displeased and directed disapproving glances at me. Kayla had married before us and had been attempting to conceive for an extended period. I had been informed by Mike that she was experiencing infertility and was essentially unable to become pregnant. She and her husband Joe had attempted a range of methods to achieve this, but to no avail. Despite their efforts, Mike, Joe, and Phil were unable to persuade SIL to consider adoption. She was adamant that she did not want to raise a child from an impoverished background. It is likely that she was displeased when she learned of my pregnancy. I was aware of SIL's personal challenges and considered this a contributing factor in my decision not to make the announcement in front of everyone. Regardless of my relationship with her, I empathized with her situation as a woman. Due to her condition, when Mike's relative began inquiring about the impending baby shower and the anticipated gender of the child, Kayla abruptly became emotional and departed the gathering. She proceeded to the restroom and secured the door, effectively isolating herself. It is not difficult to imagine that the atmosphere became noticeably strained. Mike and Mill implored her to reconsider and re-engage with the group, but Kayla remained steadfast in her resolve. After approximately 30 minutes of continued entreaty, she emerged from the bathroom, her eyes visibly red and puffy. She directly addressed me, stating that I should have consulted her prior to making the announcement. I attempted to persuade her to discuss the matter with her sister before making the announcement, given that she was unable to have a child of her own. However, she disregarded my advice and departed from the gathering with Joe. Mill subsequently reprimanded me for being selfish and for failing to consider the feelings of others. Following the event, Mike expressed remorse and pledged to consult with Kayla and Mill to ensure that he then informed me that he had not anticipated the extent of the distress caused to his sister by our announcement. Despite this, I still felt culpable about the situation. My husband, however, reassured me that I was not at fault. The following weekend, he went to his parents' house for dinner. I remained behind, as I was not inclined to engage in discussions with his family. I am unsure of the specifics of the conversation that took place, but Mike returned home and informed me that he had apologized to Kayla. She was visibly distressed by the recollection of events. She proceeded to narrate the emotional toll of her struggles, delineating the numerous medical tests and the sleepless nights spent in tears for years. Despite the existing tensions between us, I experienced a pang of guilt. Kayla was still a member of our family, and the thought of her suffering weighed heavily on my conscience. I came to realize that beneath the facade of resentment and animosity, there was a woman who was hurting. Mike advised me on how to proceed, suggesting that I contact Kayla. I did so, apologizing for not informing her of my pregnancy before the party. I told her that I wanted to resolve our differences before the birth of my twins so that we could start afresh as a family. To my surprise, Kayla responded with unexpected warmth and understanding. She thanked me for reaching out and acknowledged her own role in the strained relationship. She expressed genuine happiness for my pregnancy and reassured me that she wanted to mend our relationship and be supportive during this special time. She offered to throw a baby shower for me when the time came, stating that she has never had a chance to do it for anyone and would love to organize one for me. I graciously agreed. In the months leading up to the baby shower, I noticed that both Kayla and my mother-in-law were unusually kind and sweet to me. The in-laws displayed unusual kindness and sweetness towards me. They would frequently call to inquire about my well-being and send flowers accompanied by cards expressing hope, anticipation, and affection. This was a notable shift from our previously strained relationship. Both Kayla and my mother-in-law exhibited a sudden change in behavior. The in-laws were acting in a manner that was completely incongruous with their usual demeanor, lavishing me with affection. This abrupt change in behavior was accompanied by a pervasive sense of unease. However, I considered the possibility that they were attempting to reconcile our differences before the twins' birth. Despite my suspicions, I attempted to maintain an optimistic outlook, hoping that we were embarking on a new chapter as a family. Mike continued to visit his family for dinner every weekend, and everything appeared to be well on the surface. On the day of the baby shower, I was surprised to see that Kayla had actually taken my suggestions into account and incorporated them into the event's organization. The event itself was everything I had hoped for and more, with friends and family gathered to celebrate the imminent arrival of our twins. Unlike typical baby showers, the men of the family were invited to the event as well. Phil had brought multiple gifts for the twins. We were all having a lot of fun and playing baby shower games throughout the afternoon. Kayla was polite while engaging with the guests. During the course of one of the games, I was compelled to excuse myself from the proceedings to attend to a personal matter. Upon my return, I overheard my husband and Mill engaged in a heated discussion in hushed tones. My curiosity was piqued, and I paused to strain my ears to catch the gist of their conversation. Initially, I assumed it was merely a trivial exchange, perhaps about infant names or nursery decor. However, as I listened more intently, my heart sank. I sought clarification from my husband about the nature of the conversation. Regarding their plan with the twins, Mike advised Mill to lower her voice, as someone might be able to hear them. However, Mill informed him that the time was near and that he needed to address the matter with me. Mike stated that he was attempting to do so and that the conversation was challenging. Mill then indicated that the discussion needed to occur before the twins were born, as otherwise, they would not be able to transfer one of the twins to Kayla in a timely manner. On her 27th birthday, she informed him that he had already acquiesced to S's demands and was now trapped, as she had been eagerly anticipating becoming a mother for months. I was taken aback by these fragments of conversation I had overheard. My heart raced with a complex mixture of disbelief and mounting dread as I grappled with the gravity of their discussion. The full implications of their conversation suddenly dawned on me with a profound impact. They were contemplating the possibility of giving one of our twins away to my sister. I was shocked and disbelieving as I listened to their conversation. It was as if I had been punched in the gut. I was frozen in place, unable to move or respond. They continued to discuss their plans as if they were the most normal thing in the world. My mind was flooded with a million thoughts and emotions, anger, sadness, and, most of all, betrayal. I had always assumed that Mill and SIL were happy about our growing family. I had assumed that my husband and in-laws were happy about our twins. However, I have since realized that their happiness was not due to our growing family. Instead, it was the result of a plan that I now recognize as being deliberately designed to separate us from one of our children. As a result of this realization, I feel like I don't even know my husband anymore. I am struggling to comprehend how he could betray me in such a way. It is difficult for me to understand how he could even consider giving away our child. Our children were not gifts to be given away. The children in question were my flesh and blood. I bided my time, awaiting the conclusion of their conversation, as I was reluctant to be discovered. I then proceeded to exit the washroom in a measured and controlled manner. I was experiencing a complex emotional state, comprising fear and anger. However, I was able to maintain a degree of composure in the presence of others, as I had been contemplating an escape plan since the baby shower. I must extricate myself from this situation as expeditiously as possible. I am unable to risk endangering my twins in the future. This family is irrational, and I am no longer able to trust my husband. I am filled with an overwhelming urge to scream at him each time I see him, but I am attempting to feign normalcy so that I can continue to develop my escape plan. However, due to the hormonal changes associated with pregnancy, I am somewhat concerned that I may be unable to leave my husband without any support. I am seeking an explanation. While I am not opposed to being a single mother, I believe it is important to give the father of my children an opportunity to explain himself before taking drastic measures that could potentially tear our family apart. I would like to thank everyone for their advice and suggestions. I have carefully considered all the comments and have made up my mind. I want to assure you that I will never allow anyone to take away my baby. I have contacted my long-standing friend and requested her assistance. She is as astonished as I am that my husband could orchestrate such an act with his family. She has consented to assist me in relocating my belongings so that I can reside with her while I file for divorce against my husband. Tonight will mark the final night I will occupy the same residence as Mike, and tomorrow I will depart without providing a note or explanation, as he does not merit such an offering. It has been 2 weeks since my previous update. I wish to provide an update on the developments since my last post, as I previously mentioned that I made the decision to file for divorce from Mike after overhearing his conversation with his mother regarding their plan for our twins. It was a heartbreaking decision, but I was certain it was the best course of action for me and my children. With the support of my closest friend, I gathered my belongings and left our residence while my husband was at work. It was a challenging and emotional experience, as I had never imagined that I would one day leave my husband. However, I recognized the necessity to prioritize the safety and well-being of myself and my unborn child. In the interest of protecting myself and my unborn child, I have since filed for divorce. Despite Mike's attempts to communicate with me on multiple occasions, I have not blocked him, as I intend to maintain a cordial relationship until the divorce is finalized. Mike is unaware that I overheard him discussing his plans with his mother. In response to this, he has sent me several text messages, accusing me of betrayal and claiming that his family was correct in their assessment of the situation. I have not responded, as I believe that any explanation I provide would be dismissed by him and his family as a means of deflection and manipulation. Regardless of their actions, the truth will emerge during the divorce proceedings. I have blocked SIL and MIL, although I do feel somewhat culpable about not responding to Phil's calls. I am uncertain whether he was involved in this plan, so I cannot take any risks. I have spent the last few days in a state of distress, while my closest friend has remained with me throughout. She has reassured me that I am not a bad mother for leaving such a man and has attempted to assuage my guilt, given that I will be a single mother from now on. I intend to resume my professional career. Once I am able to resume work, my best friend, who is employed from home, has agreed to care for my twins. However, I have requested compensation for her services, as caring for twins is a challenging task. I am aware that this is not a comprehensive solution and that I would prefer to have reliable parents who could assist me in this regard. Unfortunately, I do not have such support. My best friend will only be able to help me with the children until I am able to finalize my divorce from Mike. At that point, I intend to hire a professional nanny, given that I will receive child support. I am aware that this will be challenging, but I am determined to create a stable and secure future for myself and my children. I am grateful for the support and encouragement I have received from all of you during this challenging time. Update 3. Good morning, everyone. It has been 6 months since I provided an update. A great deal has occurred since then. First, I gave birth, and I am now the proud mother of my twins, Jackson and Vinny. I was nervous before giving birth, but the moment I held my twins in my arms for the first time, all of my worries melted away. They are my world. I am gratified that I removed my children from that chaotic household. My divorce from Mike was finalized, and despite his entreaties, he was not granted custody of the children. He did, however, ascertain during the proceedings the reason for my departure from him. He was astonished to learn of my awareness of his scheme. He attempted to offer an apology and an explanation, stating that he was subjected to relentless pressure from his family on a daily basis and that he felt compelled to comply. I was further disillusioned by his lack of courage. It transpired that Phil was aware of the situation. Despite his attempts to dissuade S and Mill, his counsel was ignored. I am disillusioned by this family and have experienced no remorse since divorcing Mike. I did not request alimony, but he has agreed to pay a substantial amount in child support, which will enable me to provide for my children's best interests. Mill and S attempted to contact me and even appeared during the divorce proceedings, screaming and yelling at me for taking away the twins. They informed me of how they could have provided for my children. They attempted to persuade me to return to them, claiming that I was a bad mother for being so selfish. In the end, they had to be restrained by the guards. I am gratified that they embarrassed themselves publicly, as it facilitated my obtaining a restraining order against them. Since the divorce, Mike has attempted to maintain contact with me, imploring me to give him a chance to talk and reconcile. However, I am unable to trust him again in my children's presence. With the assistance of my closest friend and a network of supportive friends and family, I have been able to successfully navigate the challenges of single parenthood in recent times. In recent months, I have made the decision to relocate from the city entirely. I aim to create a fresh start for myself and my children, away from the toxicity and manipulation of Mike's family. I am aware that, as long as I live in the same city, there is a risk that they might attempt to contact my twins. I do not want that to happen, given that I have been granted full custody of my twins. I have the freedom to build a new life wherever I choose, and I intend to make the most of that opportunity moving forward. I will be focusing on myself and my baby, so there will be no further updates.